Oh, what's up, Ilaria?
All good, all good. You?
Yeah, I'm good. Here
Good.
in Barcelona. Where are you at the moment?
In Stockholm.
Oh, yeah. How is it? How is it over there?
It's nice, finally. It started to be spring also here. It's like 20 degree, 21.
How many years
Nice
you've been
sun.
in Stockholm for?
In Stockholm since 2016, 17. I don't know. I'm not preparing this. I came to Sweden in 2014. Think I started living in Stockholm 2017, 3 years later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, walk us through your basketball career a bit, or maybe even start with childhood if you want, and let us know where you grew up and how you started playing, and anything you want to share regarding like basketball.
Childhood, long ago. I started to play. I'm from Milano, first of all, and
Mhm.
I started to play basketball because my best friend decided to play basketball, so I just wanted to hang out with him. So
Your
no
who?
one in my family, my best friend.
Ah, okay.
So I
Ah.
just wanted to be around him and play with him. No one in my family knew anything about basketball, any rule, like nothing. So it was kind of fun. And then it just stick with me. So my best friend ended up quitting and I just went on playing. And from there, I started playing first in teams near home, near Milano. And already now, I'm not even sure, but already when I would say in middle school, like the Italian middle school, I don't know if it's the same age everywhere in Europe, but around 12, 15, that age, I start playing already like a little bit further from home. Like I was taking, with traffic, it was every day 2 hours to go to practice. So it was
Oh.
finish school, in the car, get stuck in traffic for 2 hours and go to practice. And I was playing JS, which is in Sesto San Giovanni, is a city right outside Milano, but on the opposite side to where I live. And I played there all the youth teams, and we won a championship. And when I was done with high school, I decided to play in the highest division in Italy, and I moved to Napoli. And from there, I just starting to play around Italy a little bit everywhere.
You you moved to
Yeah.
Napoli like by yourself? Like you moved away from home
I
by
moved
yourself
by
the first time?
myself. Yeah,
Okay. Was that
first
like your
time.
first contract or
It was my first.
okay.
I had contract also with JS. I did all the youth team, but I started playing also with the senior, and we were first in it's called Serie B, which would be like the third division, and from there we went up to the second division, A2, and so I started having like kind of a contract with the with the senior. It was not a lot of money, just like like gas money, stuff like
Mm,
that. But so the real one was in Napoli.
okay. And after that, where did you go? Meanwhile, you were in the
Oh,
national team or
yeah, I did a few years with the youth national team, and when it was under the year with under 20, I start practicing and playing some games also with the senior team. And yeah, so I was also in the national team. I would say that this, like, if I think about the years, was probably my last year of high school that I was playing both with the youth, the national team, and the senior. And then once I started directly after high school, it was only senior team with the national
okay.
team.
And did you go to school at the same time? Did you go to university or you just played ball?
No, when I went to Napoli, I actually I think I applied to university, but then it was I was in a new city, didn't know better. Right now, I would say I didn't know better, so I just didn't follow the course, didn't go on with that. We were playing EuroLeague also, so it was really hard to find time also just to go to school. Like it was a requirement to go to classes, and morning when you're the young one, you have individual practices, and and then traveling the league and EuroLeague. So there was no time.
You were what, 18 when you were playing
I
in
was
EuroLeague?
18, 19 maybe, because I'm born in January, so I think maybe I was already 19, but yeah, around those years.
Wow. And I guess you
Yeah.
had like well, you were playing in two leagues, and you were like full on traveling with the team everywhere and having two practices a day, starting, like you basically didn't have time for anything else starting then.
No, I mean, there's people that still did it, but like, yeah, I didn't go on with that. So again, right now I would say, right now I would probably do that, knowing better. But yeah, in that moment it was too much. Also, the excitement to be done with school and just be a professional basketball player probably had a big weight on it also. But yeah, and it was of course a lot of time with the club, with the team. So it was a little hard.
Okay, and before we move on further, where you went to the other teams, like did you want to become pro, or did it just like happened throughout your career because everything went so fast and you were good and you had potential and you had talent and then teams recruited you? Or was this something like you had in your mind from when you were young?
When I started, I honestly don't remember. I told you it was just now I'm talking when I was really young, it was just to be around my friends. So it just started for fun. But I guess like I had some kind of talent with that, maybe also even all the athleticism. And coaches start telling me, oh, not even to me, like to my family, like, hey, she has potential. So try to push her to continue, not to push her like a crazy parent, like you have to be a superstar, but just like let her continue to play. So that was exactly when we moved to the other team that was like 2 hours in traffic. And my parents, like I remember my mom was doing the road on the opposite way. So she was coming from work doing 1 hour and a half of traffic to come pick me up at home, and she was working almost closer to the gym where I was gonna practice, and she was coming back home, pick me up, get me in the car, and go back. 2 hours of traffic, wait 2 hours outside the gym because the coach didn't want parents in the gym, so she was just waiting outside, sitting on the umbrella stand, just sitting there and just waiting. So I'm super grateful. But that was when I started realizing that I was having fun. First of all, I enjoy play, and I realized also my own potential. And from there, of course, then it became also a dream to became pro.
And I guess all the time also invested from everyone around you for you to like reach something or like reach some goals.
Oh yeah, it's a huge sacrifice overall. In school, I would say mostly during high school. Again, it wasn't like I realized it was a sacrifice. It wasn't maybe I didn't see him as a huge sacrifice because I was still doing what I loved. But I remember, as I told you, like I was getting out from school, get in the car, and go to practice.
Yeah.
So, and that was when my friends, instead after school, they were hanging out in the park. So I couldn't, like, I wanted to do it sometimes, or just even in the weekend, start to going out. There was like the club, they were going dancing in the afternoon, the club open for teenagers, and I don't have these memories. I never went with them. Or also like when you go away with school to another country, just a school trip, don't even know how it looked, never done that. But again, it's never been something I missed out because I was still doing what I love. But I can see that it's anyway like a big sacrifice that I was doing.
Yeah, for sure. I think we realized later um, that we didn't really have the normal teenage years, and
Yeah.
in some ways, I think they're very important for also, going through the stages and having friends and going out and partying and all that. So yeah, so later, so when did you move out of Italy? Like, walk us through what happened after. What teams did you go to and
Um,
what countries?
After Napoli, I just start playing. I play mostly of my career in Italy anyway, so I
Mm.
just start playing around. I play 1 year in Sicily, nothing in Sicily, called Ribera, and
Mhm.
after that, I went 2 years in Parma. I did a half season in Schio, and the rest of the season I went back to JS for that half season plus other 2 years. Then I ended up in Taranto.
Mm.
Taranto went bankruptcy, so I went back to Parma, and then like it's been some events that made me almost quit playing, and that's when Sweden happened instead. And
Okay.
here we jumped 2014.
So that was in Sweden. Was your last year of playing?
Yeah, I finished. I ended my career
You're
in
here.
Sweden.
Okay. So yeah, now we know we both know why you ended your career, but talk us a bit through
Yeah,
your injuries, your injuries,
yeah.
and where do you want to start with that? Like,
Yeah, I don't even
how did
know.
your
Like,
body like change and become more, susceptible to all these injuries and
um, I didn't have I would say I didn't have a lucky career with the injury wise. Um, I I don't know if I can also put it like my type of game was kind of athletic. So I don't know if it was, I was giving more effort and stress on my body, even only for that. But yeah, I always had like some injuries that slow me down also during my career. And I feel like it happened every time that I was on my way up, trying to reach my best, maybe, started to play as I wanted to, and then a big injury would come. So
mm,
then you again start from zero and you try to reach again that point and something else happens. So it's been kind of, yeah, frustrating maybe. Um, I would say that from 2011 is when I remember that my knee, it was not okay. Like I was avoiding to do some exercise because it was already painful back then, but I managed to play. I think that being strong in my quads, in my legs, it helped me like in a way protect the knee. So there was some movement that annoyed me, but I managed to play many other years. What happened if we fast forward to Sweden? I start having pain in my hip out of nowhere to a point that it was painful to just sit in the car, just get up, lay down, and of course also walking. So I decided that that was it. Like it came to a point that it was so painful and frustrating and constantly there that I thought it was okay with quit. I was like, that's all. I want to be able to walk without this pain. So I'm gonna do a surgery on it and just quit. Did the surgery. It took, I would say, 1 year and a half before I start feeling better. But at the same time, when I did the surgery, I also lost the muscle that was protecting my knee. So now I'm in this position that my knee hurts, kind of as it hurt like 12 years ago, probably even better, of course. But yeah, and now I'm in this position that the knee hurts and it's hard to build up the muscles. And I think that being always, on the wheel and always practicing, it helped me hiding all this pain that I had. And in the moment that I had to stop because of the surgery and I lost the muscle, like everything came out, let's say, like that.
so that's when you would say it became the worst pain, and then you realized that you were not able really to play without pain, right? So before you were playing with still some pain, but not at a level that you're not able to compete. Or
with the knee, you mean?
yeah,
Or in general? With the
well, in
knee,
general, you had pain like in your hip and in your knee, no?
yeah, like at the big with the hip, when the hip started, that was super annoying. So like, no, I cannot play like this. It was really like also sliding. It was hard to move almost. And in my head, when I did the surgery, in my head I was done with basketball. Then I start missing it, of course. And then I always had this second plan in my head. Okay, maybe I do a rehab quick, come back in shape, and I come back to play. So after a few months, I start thinking, okay, I'm gonna make a comeback. But trying to do that, first of all, as I say, for 1 year and a half, the hip was still annoying me even after the surgery. So still frustrating, waiting for that. When the hip started being feeling better, by then the knee already started to annoy me. So it's like it never really started again, this process to try to make a comeback. And of course the years goes on, and then I'm getting older, and I just have to settle with the idea, okay, there's not gonna be a comeback. It's been kind of forced on me. But yeah, no, right now I cannot run, I cannot jump, so it's a little hard to play basketball in those conditions, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, how was your short? I mean, you stopped playing, and then what did you do after, and how was that transition period? And obviously having to stop, how do you say, like involuntarily, because you were forced to stop. You would have wanted to keep playing, right? If your body had been healthy and
Yeah, probably I would say definitely yes. I luckily in my I was already in Stockholm, so like what became my last 2 seasons, I decided to start to do some courses on the side. So I was working, I was playing basketball, and then because I was playing for a club that didn't have a lot of money, I asked them, okay, if you cannot pay me that much, like you can pay me this, but you can pay my courses that I'm gonna do in Italy for my future. They accepted, and so I started doing courses for personal trainer and massage therapist. Again, thinking that okay, this is gonna be my far future if I want to just a plan B. And in my head, I had no clue that it was gonna be like the year or 2 year later then I would have started working. And that's what happened. Like when I stopped, I found a guy that he was actually an Italian guy that lives here in Stockholm, and he was looking for a massage therapist. So it felt like it came to a point that I was so in my head, like I would have always postponed the end of my career. But then when you are in front of an occasion like this, and we know how scary it is after a basketball career to jump in the job world, because maybe we don't have experience, we're stressed about finding a job, and when the job was there, then it was when I really had to ask myself, okay, what am I going to do now? I have this occasion, I don't know if it's going to come again. And I took it almost as a sign, and I just started working instead. Again, I was kind of okay maybe at the beginning it felt like, okay, I'm done with basketball. I did what I had to do. I'm okay with my career, and I'm looking forward to start a, let's say, normal life, like with normal job. And so at the beginning it was almost okay, but I didn't expect that it would have hit me like it hit me after,
so
like
when did it
identity.
hit you?
I think after 5 months. This happened, I did my surgery in June. So again, I was kind of okay. And already around September, October, when you hear, your friends that start again the season, then it started being a little harder to accept it that you're not doing it as well. Um, But again, like in my head, I knew that I did a surgery, so I would have at least 6 months. Even if I wanted to come back, I would have needed at least 6 months. So I would say around January, I start like with the new year, I start being really like thinking about making a comeback. And then also, again, the frustration starts because you cannot like actually physically getting ready for that.
So that was just like basically a few months after, 8 months after your.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So during those 8 months, like you were kind of okay because you had a new job, and then you
Yeah.
were thinking
And
of
I
doing the
knew that
comeback.
yeah, it was still anyway the time that I knew I had to stay out for the injury. Even if I
Right.
was still a best player, I wouldn't have
Right.
played in those months because of the hip. But when I knew that on paper, okay, I have the okay of the doctor, then you're like, okay, I want to start. But yeah, I think I don't know now if it's no. I think COVID came after because there was another year that I wanted to think. I was thinking about a comeback, and then COVID started. So I was like, okay, not this year either. So yeah, and so it never happened.
So what
To
exactly were you feeling to say that, okay, I want to go back to basketball because it's what I know to do, because it's it's something that brings me an income. Is it, do I love the team, or what is it that was bringing you back, knowing that you have all these injuries and it might not be like a smart choice for your long-term health?
yeah, it's always been like back and forth. If you think about the injuries, like is it worth it? Maybe no. But what I think I really miss was like the adrenaline, the
Mm,
dynamics in a team, like just being in the locker room, having like teammates. It's something that I think only sport can give you, like the adrenaline you get, the emotion when you're on the court, all this little thing that I find it hard to find anywhere else. So I think that's the hardest part for an athlete when we decide to stop, is that you don't know where to look for those kind of emotion. Overall adrenaline, I would say.
mm. Yeah, that's a feeling that's hard to replace by I don't know what could replace it. I think we're all still looking for it. Um, so then was it wait, hmm, this so was there a point where, I don't know, this how did the transition affect you, like psychologically, and also your, I mean, your injuries? Because how was your body handling, or were you still able to go to the gym or to do some sports to, like, still be an athlete? um or what happened then in the, because I like years, when was this, like a few 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Something like that. The
Yeah.
knee was then I had surgery also in my knee. It was October last year. The hip was, I would say, 2018. Not really sure, but 2018, 2019, something like that. It's been tough. It's been tough. First of all, like when I did the surgery, I wasn't part of a team or a club anymore. So you don't have anymore all the, like trainer that you have when you get injured with a club. Like that, you have someone that follow you 8 hours per day and to get you on the court the quickest possible. Of course, when you have a normal injury like anyone would have, like you just wait for the surgery, you get surgery, and you get a slow rehab. Again, at the beginning, I was fine with that because I was so tired of basketball and practices too much. When you have something, you want something else, and then you look back, oh, I missed that thing. So I was almost okay, like, okay, I'm gonna take it slow because I don't have to be ready for a season now. And yeah, I don't want to push it through. I'm gonna take my time. So the beginning was kind of okay, but I think it's been hard when I didn't see that it was getting better because it took a long time before that. So these things went on and on, and also together with the identity crisis that I start having when we arrive around November, December, when I told you that instead I wanted to come back. And that's been hard. That's been really hard. Like I was wondering, like, okay, I don't know who I am without basketball. So it's been tough mentally. I have to be honest. I didn't know it was gonna hit that bad, but I've been struggling with that, to accept that I was not that anymore. And I think again in my case, probably it's been hard because I was okay with quitting, but again, it wasn't like a choice that I did. My heart and my brain did. Okay, I'm done. I'm happy. I'm done. I came to accept that I was done because of an injury. So it was more like my body that decided that it was time to stop. So I guess I never really accepted it deep inside. Probably not even now, because even now it's hard for me to watch a game because like I get almost envy and jealous of the one that are still doing it. And yeah, it's been hard. At the same time, then the body was like sore, and then the knee started, so I couldn't really go to the gym and get out the frustration in the gym, to get out some energy at least, and adrenaline, somehow get some type of adrenaline. It was just painful, so I started having almost like a rejection of anything that was like a physical activity. Like I almost didn't want to sweat. Like I had this refuse to do anything that was physical, because any type of movement I was doing, I was in pain. So it wasn't even fun to go to the gym. And didn't see that it was getting better. It was painful. And it became also almost like a hate and a reminder that I was not playing basketball, and I would have not playing basketball in the future. So it became very heavy mentally. I guess that was probably the hardest thing. Overall, when we did this for all our life, because we practice. I mean, I was in the gym 8 hours per day, if not 8, 6. But if you count also when you go away and you do some treatment, massage, then it's like 8 hours of your day. And then it's tough to replace it with something else. I guess it's the same. People, I think, compare it to when you stop working and go to pension, because like you don't have anymore the rhythm that you had during the day, all the things that daily you did for maybe 20, 30, 40 years at work, and then you feel kind of lost. And I guess it's kind of the same. In my case, also probably worse because of all the injuries, pain, and that part. But it go back to not doing what you like and trying to accept it somehow.
Yeah, I think in this case, well, in general, when athletes have to retire because of injury, the transition is much more difficult because, well, one, it's something that you did not, you were probably not ready for. It was not a voluntary decision of yours, and then the process that comes after is also like this process of grief, and this process of accepting that, okay, I really have to put behind that part of my life and that part of me, because it was a basically another part of you, the player in you, and then move on to other things and refine your identity and who you are and what you want to do, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, it's very tough. And I think it's interesting that you say that you still, like, to this day, it's hard for you to kind of watch a game. And yeah, did you have any social like support, like from friends during that time with the injuries? Because also, like, okay, you had an injury, and your body completely kind of changed, right? You couldn't go to the gym, you couldn't play basketball, you couldn't play sports. And how did you manage all that, like, by yourself, and who was helping you?
It's been tough overall, because I'm in a new country. Like new, it's not it's not home like where I've been growing up. So most of my friends are, of course, in Italy. And the friends that I got to know here comes more from, of course, also my old teammates that anyway, they're still playing. So they spread around in Sweden and Europe. So they're not really here, but the people I hang out with, it's people that I got to know through through work when I start working. So they understand, but of course, if you don't live it, you don't totally understand what you go through. So they never play basketball, they maybe played sports when they were in high school. So like it's still nice because it keeps my mind almost away from basketball because it really has nothing to do with it. So it helped me in that way to have something completely different. But otherwise it's been hard. Of course, family, friends, that's what helped the most. And it came to a point that I also asked for medical help. So I've been seeing a psychologist that helped me through that, because it get to a point that I was having panic attacks. So it's that, of course, that helped to have someone to talk to that could help with that.
Yeah, what a story. I mean, just to hear about like being in a new country also, because it's not like you went home and you were able to have your family and friends and be like, process your transition from sports. It was like, hey, new life, no more basketball. Yeah, so how was
it was crazy. And again, when I look back, I'm super proud of it anyway, because again, new country, new job, new life, new friends.
So you were reborn.
Yes. So of course I'm proud of that, but it's not been easy at all.
And how is it like with the basketball, like a player identity? Like we've talked about this before, and it's a big topic in this whole transition field, and professional athletes having they say for them being an athlete is like the number one thing, and then we stop playing and we haven't really explored during the time that we're playing who we are, other activities, other interests, what we like to do. We don't know how we like to move our bodies because we just play the sport, and it was very specific the way we trained. And then we exit and we have to interact with the world, with other types of people. And in the job, it's like you had to interact with these people that didn't play basketball. Even in Sweden, basketball was not really a big thing, and so you were like, I played basketball, and they're like, okay.
It gets always it always interests people. I think in the moment you say I was a professional athlete, it gets to them. Like even if we take it for us, that's what we were, that's what we did. So we don't even realize how other people can have an opinion on that. Instead, I always found out that people it seems super cool for them. When for us it's I did that, it was totally normal. But every time I say I used to play basketball, they're like, oh cool, so you travel a lot, you did this. And then it's the time when I look back and it's like, yeah, it was actually nice, because I usually instead do the opposite when I go in a new, now in the job world, that I'm the last one of everyone most likely. If I look at my CV, I don't have the experience that all of the other colleagues had most of the time. And so for me, it's always like, okay, what did I do? Instead, for them, it's super cool. And then you're still thinking, okay, maybe it still got me something. And then also you realize how much of soft skills we learn without even noticing, because it's, you play in a team and you learn to be a team player because you do that every day. It's not something that you have to focus on it, like just come with that. Instead, you realize how it's hard for other people, and they think and I also talk actually with a recruiter, and they say we love when we have athletes that comes, because they work under pressure. They handle it. They don't get too stressed. We know they're a team player, of course, and they like to challenge themselves. So there's a lot of soft skills that I'm taking with me. But again, at the beginning, I only felt like I'm not a basketball player anymore. Everything sucks. My CV sucks. I have no experience. What am I going to do? So now I'm trying to change a little bit my view on that, trying to be more positive. Like, okay, basketball gave me something that not everybody has, so I should push on that, because that's who I am. Like, after basketball, I'm still the team player and still, competitive and all those things.
Yeah, and I think we realize these skills also more so when we retire, because it's when we analyze, okay, I don't have work experience, I don't have internships in my CV, I don't have all these like what can I put?
But it's crazy
then,
how it's crazy how you think it's totally normal, and then you go out and you work with people. And I have some colleagues that, if things are super normal for you, being in a team, like, okay, you do everything has to help to reach a goal, and then you go in a place people were no athletes, didn't play any sport, you get so annoyed that they don't do those easy things. So it's like, it's crazy, as you say, we don't even realize we learn them, because it comes just by doing it with years. But it's very interesting, actually.
so let's talk a bit about the like, how do you see now that you've been through it, and what do you think needs to change in the current elite world, elite sport world, in regards to injury prevention? Obviously, also there's gender differences that need to be considered in the way of training, in the way of approaching practice, the amount of load that you put on your body. So you've been through it. You went from a young age at really intense load. So what's your take on it in regards to this injury prevention for athletes, female athletes specifically?
I think that when I was young, there was this idea of, but even when I was towards the end of my career, there was always this idea that if you ask for a day off, half day off to the coach, most of the time it was like, oh, you don't want to practice. Like, it was not like, I'm trying to tell you what I feel my body's telling me. It's always been taken like, no, if you don't practice, we lose time. We don't, it seemed almost like if you skip one day of practice, everything would be ruined for the season. So I hope that now, like, even just in courses, when coach like get their certificate to and their license, I hope that it's like connected also, like they can talk with the trainers to also explain that sometimes we need a break, like a little rest, and there's nothing wrong with it. Doesn't mean that we're lazy. Most of the time that was the word that I would get an answer, like, oh, you're lazy. No, I'm tired, and I'm listening to my body, and I know a day off or half day off would help. So I hope that there's this collaboration between trainers and conditioning and strength trainers and coaches. Maybe there is, I don't know. Like, I'm just thinking how it was when, and from my own experience, I always got that answer, like, oh, you're lazy. Then of course a lot of things can happen. You put like your foot over someone else's foot and you sprain your ankle. So there's also a lot of luck into that also. What I think also would be very important is that is like the mental aspect of it. And my experience had never been followed by any sports psychologist in a club, never been offered to get some help in that way during all my injuries. And I think that that could be actually a great help. And another thing, not directly connected to the injury and prevention, but consequences of that, it's to explain the importance to have a plan B, because in all my bad luck with injuries, I've still been lucky that I play until I was 32, 33. Don't remember. I could have played more, but at least I arrived to that age. If you get a bad injury when you're 20, 22, and you don't have a plan B, all the things that I've been living now come way earlier, and it could be even harder mentally. Of course, you have also more time. You think I'm still young, I can, study, do this and that. True, but it hits you anyway. So in that aspect, I would also thinking about not preventing the injuries, but preventing what the injuries can cause. So I think that should also be something to look into it. I understand it comes to probably down to money, and I don't know if I hope that clubs start to understand that it's important to invest in that, because it can give you back a lot, not only about injuries, but also to reach the best of performance of your players. So I hope they eventually will understand the value that this investment has. But again, at the same time, I understand that they don't want to invest in that because they don't have money, maybe, and they see like in a way a waste of it. So it's not an easy fix, sadly.
Yeah, and I mean the budget is allocated for what it's allocated, and what we are talking about here, and the well-being of the athlete, I wouldn't say it's a top priority, even though we both agree that it's very important for if you want to win, if you want to have performance, and if you want the athlete to be happy and rested and not get injured. I mean, it's very important. So what would you like say to younger Ilaria, who was playing basketball and having big dreams, and dealing with her injuries? What would you say to her now?
I would just say that even if I miss basketball now, I'm proud. If I look back, I'm proud of how I reacted to every time that I was going on the top of my career and being thrown down again by an injury. So if I look back, I really fought through that, and I'm very proud of it. I would probably do something different regarding plan B, to have something, which again, it's not easy because it's hard to know maybe at that age what you want to do in the future. But of course, if you can, and overall now there's many more not occasion, but way to do something else on the side. Because I told you, for me, it was back then it was hard. It was university, and I actually tried when I was in Parma to study. So I was doing it at 8 in the morning. I was going to the university until 10, then going to individual practice, then back to school, and then back to practice. I did from August, September to November or December, and I broke my ACL. I was exhausted. Now there's a lot of online courses, online everything. So it's almost not as anymore an excuse to prepare yourself for life after basketball, because you don't know when it can happen. Of course, we all think it's gonna be way far. I'm gonna play. I have other 10 years on me, but you never know when it'll happen. So it's always easier. Eventually it hits you anyway, but at least after that you're ready to go.
Do you think it's possible while during your playing career to explore other identities, with the amount of training that you have? And okay, that yes, you prepare, let's say you study, but the exploration of identity being like a very complex topic, that, as you said, we didn't go through our teenage years where you find out all these things and you explore these things. And do you think it's possible to do it while you're in such a sport bubble?
It's not easy. It takes time. You probably will be extremely tired by that, but I think it's possible. What another solution that it could be is like try to understand what you can give to an athlete, because I came to think that you cannot ask an athlete to be professional like 100% and then you don't pay them a salary that would allow her to be a professional 100%, because it takes times, and at the same time when something happened then you don't have anything. So if you know you cannot give too much to a player, then you have to give the player an opportunity to do something else to prepare themselves. Like it happened here in Sweden. Again, okay, maybe it's not the same level of Europe, but the last team where I played, they didn't have a lot of money, and they told me directly. So that's when I came with the idea. First of all, they helped me find a job. So like, okay, I come to Stockholm, you find me a job, so I get a salary, and I can go also on after basketball if I want to with this thing.
Yeah.
Or you pay for my courses, and they accept it. So find a way to help the player, because
For sure
you can expect that a player put like 8 hours of time for what? Risk to be injured and maybe don't even get a contract a year later because they're injured, and then you don't have a team and you don't know what to do. So there are ways that could be explored, I would say. One that I found also super interesting that I saw here in Sweden is like I see that clubs often try to help players who wants to either start working or start trying to different things. They put them in contact with the sponsor. So for example, they can create like a group, like a network on LinkedIn with the sponsor, people from sponsors or from the club, and the player, tell the player, we have this group, you can join it. So if there's some job opportunity, or if you want to ask something, you can ask directly to the sponsor. And I think this is such a smart way overall for little like reality, like little clubs. Now I'm thinking about Italy. I'm talking with a friend that has a coach, like a team that is, I think it's second or third league, and they don't have a lot of money. But I was like, do something like that. Like it's so hard to find a job. Like help the player get a job. So then you can say, okay, we pay you less, but we got you this job. So it makes things easier a little bit. So that could be a starting point. And yeah, I think that's very important, actually, to try to help the player in that way. We're talking about women basketball, so we know that if we check the percentage of people that live out of it, out of money from basketball, I don't know if it's like 10%, if not less. So we have to find a different way, because it's too much of a give, and then maybe you don't get back what you gave. So it's a huge sacrifice in that way. Of course, if we think about it, of course, the best player, okay, they got a lot of money, they're happy, but that's what you dream to be, but maybe it doesn't happen. And then you have, like an average salary, which is maybe super nice. If you're 20, it's like, of course your salary is going to be higher, maybe that your friends at work. But with time, then when they cut this, then you don't know what to do. So
yeah, I think it's also being realistic, and the elite sport, the professional sport, and getting paid for playing the game is not really the real world. I mean, when you're out in the real world, you have to make money, you need a salary, you have to pay bills. So I mean, it's they have to be grateful for the opportunity, the ones who do have this, and enjoy it as much as they can, of course. But then also being realistic that there's gonna come a day where this will not be the case anymore. And what about just like a few last questions? How do you think like former athletes should approach their bodies once they retire? Because we push our bodies throughout all these years, and then we retire and our bodies feel the tiredness. Maybe I felt it, a lot of fatigue. I still have it to this day, because exactly of that point of yeah, not being in touch with it. Like maybe today I need to rest, but it's not possible because we have practice, we have a conditioning, and then we have a strength, and then we have to go to practice 3 hours on the court. So it's not an option. If my body feels tired, it's not an option to stay at home and rest. So
Yeah.
then when you finish, your body has a different feel to it. You become differently aware of it. So how do you think former athletes should approach their practice, their physical practice, once they no longer perform? Yeah, just some thoughts on this if you have any.
I think that again, if we're talking about like elite professional athletes, I think it's something that most of us will have to continue do for the rest of our life, because as I told you, like my knee, I would feel better if my muscle was stronger. Now I got to a point that it's hard for me to build muscle, but if I didn't have the hip problem, I would anyway have to go on practicing just to avoid to feel the pain. So I think it's something that we have to keep in mind, that it's gonna be our future, like, which is either, keeping the muscle up, or in my case, with my shoulder that dislocated the other last year, it dislocated while I was vacuuming the floor. So it's a lot of rehab that you keep doing, like a lot of elastics exercise. So most likely it's something that we have to keep doing, not even to feel good, just to avoid to feel bad. And the fun things, probably, as you say, that we cannot explore different things during our career, because like anything that is too dangerous overall, like most of the time we have in the contract that if something happened doing something else, you lose the contract. So you don't dare too much to explore. I never try and learn to ski because I was terrified that I could break my knee. And now I can't even do it because I'm also injured. But like all these things, like it would be fun to try to do, like explore different way to practice this, because it's a different kind of stimulating the stimulation of the muscle. Like we always did the same movement, so our muscle react to those movements and that type of training. Instead, if you just change a little bit, it's a different way for the muscle to train. So it's definitely good. And as you probably know better than me, a lot of mobility, because we get super stiff overall basketball player. So that's also like important. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my take.
One of my big things, what I say to my clients, or if I talk to athletes, is who really train for performance. My question to them is like, how do you want to move when you're 80? Like, what do you want to be able to do? And basically, the most important thing would be like to be able to go up and down if you have grandchildren, to go up and down the floor, right? So how do you train today if you want to do that in the future? You probably would train a bit differently. But yeah, joint health and mobility, I think, are the most important. And restoring the joint health is already a training and a process in itself for former athletes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely. And in
cool.
some cases, it gets to a point that it has to be also, again, the hard part, the acceptance to also sometimes change your type of training if you have been having a lot of injuries, because you cannot do what you were doing before. So a certain type of things that you were doing could like inflammate your joints too much. So now maybe you need a different type of, like a lighter type of training,
Yeah.
which for athletes is horrible, because in our head we want to always push hard. So when they tell you have to slow it down, you have to do something different, which in your head is less of what you could do or what you remember that you were doing.
Yeah.
Then that's the hard part,
Yeah.
because you remember yourself as the athlete you were, and you don't accept that your body is not doing that anymore. So it's that frustration that it's probably hard, but it's a lot of listen to your body anyway, and
For
try
sure.
to figure out what works best.
Do you have any last piece of advice to the players like today who are you know, maybe going through what you went through, or having troubles with the knees or injuries, trying to get back on the court. Yeah, so basically, to players in general.
Just again, listen to your body, and you're the only one that really know what's. And even for hard, sometimes it's hard to listen or to accept to and agree to listen. But you're the only one that really know what's going on. Like, so you're the only one to know if you really need a day off and ask for it, because if something happened, then you're the one that is gonna deal with it in the future. So do that. I think I'm kind of certain that a lot, okay, maybe not a lot, but some of the injuries that I had, I could have prevented if I would have listened to the signal that my body was sending me earlier, instead of at the athlete mentality. I push through, because you want to do it, because we have this competitiveness, but a lot of time comes also from club coaches, and that's not good, because again, something happened over now more than ever, probably, because I remember when I was younger, again, then it depends which club we're talking to. Top teams have probably a great organization, but if it's an average team, I remember that years ago, at the beginning of my career in the elite level, players were signing contract of 2-3 years. So it was also the club. The club wanted to, of course, help the player to feel good, because you have this player for 2-3 years. So if the player get injured, then it's gonna be annoying for you the next season. But now a lot of club, because of money, of course, they start signing player for 1 year. So if something happened, you get injured, there's not more the necessity to treat this player like crazy and spend money on it, because sadly, even if you were the nicest person ever, the club loves you and you're like family to us, I'm sorry, next year we take someone that is not injured, because then you become like an object. So listen to your body and do what's best for you. 100%.
Yeah, I'm gonna start a hashtag, ask for your day off or something, to like
You
push
got a
this
lot
to
of
players.
you're lazy, you don't want to practice. Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, it's true, and you're scared of your answer, and you're scared that maybe you're not gonna play if you're gonna ask for your day off, and that's not okay. Because players need to put first, and again, humans first and athletes second. So cool. Thank you so much, Ilaria.
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing your story with me. And yeah, if maybe some players will want to reach out and talk to you, will you be okay with this? And do you have a way that people can reach you?
Yeah, I'm getting almost as a boomer on Instagram, but LinkedIn I check more often. So LinkedIn
Okay.
works.
So you can find Ilaria on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Yeah, also good advice. Make LinkedIn, people. It's very important for networking
Yeah,
in the future.
it's great.
Cool.
So
Yeah, thank you.
you're
I'm gonna
welcome. Thank you for having me.